guys, welcome to my 32-week update. So this is actually a day late. I turned 32 weeks yesterday, but I will tell you about why in just a minute. This week the baby is about the size of a squash and he should be right around the 4-pound range, like somewhere in there. So when I went to the hospital and I went to go be checked out by the OBGYN, he made a comment about how it's very normal for babies around 29 to 31 weeks gestation to go through a really active phase. And he definitely did, and he's still extremely active, but it's starting to slow down and he definitely has a lot more quieter moments and a lot more smaller and like rolling movements. But yeah, he is still doing very well and moves all the time and is just a big boy. I'm really excited to see how big he ends up. I don't think he's gonna be bigger than 9 pounds, but I also don't think he's gonna be less than 8 pounds. So we'll see where he falls, if it's within that range at all. There's really not much to update on the baby. He's just growing. As for me, it's been kind of a strange week. I totally out of nowhere got 2 random nosebleeds. For no reason. And I've noticed that my nose, if I need to blow it or anything, it'll bleed a lot easier, which is totally normal. Pregnancy does that to those soft mucous membranes. It just makes it easier for them to bleed. So it's totally normal. I knew it was a normal pregnancy thing, I just didn't expect to experience it because I'm not one that typically gets nosebleeds very easy. Along with nosebleeds, I've actually been having a lot of congestion and I keep forgetting to bring it up in my updates. It's not really any fun. It gets definitely worse in the evenings and as I'm laying down, but I have noticed it during the day as well, and I just kind of have to put up with it. This week I've noticed in general, I just don't feel very good. You know that stage where you're starting to get ready to have the baby and you're just kind of uncomfortable all the time? That's kind of where I'm at. I'm not yet at the point where I'm like, get him out now, but I can see why people get there, for sure. Going along with those pregnancy discomforts, I'm having a lot of leg cramps and aches. My legs just always feel crampy and achy. I personally deal with sciatic nerve pain a lot anyway, even when I'm not pregnant, and I get shin splints from it, and I've kind of been having that sort of sensation a lot lately. And I do know that my sciatic nerves are being pinched. The other day I also noticed a couple of little like twinges, and I say a couple, not really a couple. It was quite a few, and it was like as I was moving and stuff. But anyway, twinges in my pubic bone. And I haven't quite had that sensation again, but it was hard to explain. But it was more prevalent when I was weight bearing, so like standing up or if I was shifting positions. And it was just this uncomfortable, sharp kind of ache in my pubic bone in the front. And so I don't know if that's the beginning of symphysis pubis dysfunction, if I remember correctly. That's how it goes. SPD. I don't know if that's the beginning of that or if it's just all the relaxin in my body. I could still be within the normal pregnancy range for that kind of thing. Like I said, I haven't experienced it again, but my pelvis does ache so bad, especially in the back. I do go to the chiropractor and she knows about it and we work on it, and unfortunately it's one of those things you can only do so much when you're pregnant because of the relaxin hormone. I've been experiencing headaches this week, and I mean I've kind of been having them for a few weeks now, but I feel like they're more regular this week. Pretty much almost a nightly thing that I get, just an uncomfortable ache. And I think it's mostly just from exhaustion. I'm not sleeping super great, and so I think by the end of the day my body's just tired and done. Now, a not fun one. Not that any of these are fun, but this one's really not fun. The past couple of weeks I've been experiencing a lot of changes between diarrhea and constipation. Basically, I haven't had any in between. It's been one or the other. And this week, my body has decided to become even more strange, and I don't generally go to the bathroom and, evacuate my bowels during the day. If it's gonna happen, it tends to be right around 2 or 3 in the morning. So right as I finally fall asleep and get restful sleep, I wake up and I have to go to the bathroom. And it's happened numerous nights this week, and it's not particularly enjoyable because, as everyone knows, at this point in your pregnancy, you're already not getting much sleep as it is. And so that stinks, but whatever. It has to come out at some point, right? I think I mentioned this before, but my glucose results showed that I was on the verge of hypothyroidism. And I definitely am starting to feel that. I do need to do more research into it and see what I need to do to take care of my body better. But I feel like every 2 hours I have to eat a lot. Otherwise I become extremely ravenous and I get headaches and I just don't feel very good, and I can tell my body needs food. And I'm trying really hard to keep it very high protein meals and snacks that I'm eating, but I also eat things like fruit and vegetables and other stuff because, I mean, really at this point I'm still just, all I want is fruit, ever. That hasn't changed the entire pregnancy. Fruit is just very refreshing and delicious, and with the heat of the summer, it's wonderful to have some fruit. And so I do eat a lot of things like that, but I have to balance it with a good protein also, so I don't feel like my blood sugars are totally out of whack. And I do have to, like I said, I have to look more into that and see what I need to do to really take care of that. One thing that I just noticed this week, and it's not super obvious, but I'm starting to get the tiny little dark line down your belly, and I can't remember how to pronounce it, so I'm not even gonna try, but it's not super noticeable looking at my stomach. I feel like I take weekly belly pictures, and this past week it was kind of noticeable, and it was odd for me. That just kind of came out of nowhere. Now, final thing, this week I have been shorter tempered. I've had a much shorter fuse, and I'm not proud to admit that, but it kind of goes into the next thing I'm going to bring up. I think I know why. So along with not really getting a whole lot of sleep and being tired all the time, I'll just get right into it. I had a breakdown yesterday, which is why I didn't get the update done yesterday. I totally just broke down, and I was panicked and anxious, and I could not calm down. And so finally I took a bath, I listened to guided meditations, and I really focused on just calming my body. And once I did that, all of a sudden I just had this overwhelming need to cry and just to release all of that emotion that I had been building up. And so I did. And I cried and relaxed for probably 2 to 2.5 hours. It was definitely what I needed. I finally let go of all that emotion I'd been building, and I acknowledged my fears, and I actually spoke my fears out loud, and I let them go. That's not to say I'm not still anxious and scared, but I let go of the majority of what I had been feeling and that tension I had built up. And most of that tension was around not being ready for the baby yet. That's caused me a lot of anxiety lately. I really wanted to be totally ready by now, and we still have a lot to do. But anyway, yeah, so I had a breakdown, and I released all of that emotion, and I feel much better now. Again, that's not to say I'm not still very anxious, but it feels so much better now. And I think it's so important to acknowledge things like that and to talk about it so that you don't get to the point that I was at, because I was at the point my heart was racing and my face was flushed, and I just could not calm down. I was essentially on the verge of a panic attack, and I'm glad that I finally let go, because it was what my body needed to be safe and to be a good home for the baby. So I went ahead and spent a good portion of yesterday making a to-do list so my husband and I can both look at what we need to do and check things off. Luckily, we've been so blessed and we've been able to get a couple of big furniture items that we still needed. And so I've been able to start organizing a little bit, and it feels really good and relieving. That's pretty much the update. Fun thing going on next week is we are meeting with a doula. I've talked to her on the phone and I feel really good about it. So if we still feel good after the in-person meeting, then we'll have found our doula, which is really exciting and reassuring, and it's nice to have it done. So I think that's about it for this update. I will try to get a quick belly shot and I'll see y'all next week. Here is the 32-week belly. Hopefully you can see that okay. I'm pale enough that it should show up pretty well against the dark background. I don't know, I have a hard time noticing any growth these days. I really just don't notice. And then, I don't know if you can tell, but my stretch marks have gotten way worse. Luckily, they don't really itch too bad anymore typically, but they hurt. They get so tender, and I can feel when a new one's popping up or when one's getting worse. Like, there was one right here. This one right here is really tender, this area. But yeah, I'll see y'all next week.